be the highest form of soul. There is the area of yaqeen, ilm al-yaqeen, and there is the area where you see yaqeen, and there is that elevation to haqq al-yaqeen, and one proceeds further and further, and it is at that level of haqq al-yaqeen then that the soul reaches the area of nafs al-mutma'inna. In nafs too there are stages. There is nafs al-lawama, which is the nafs that is the conscience really, that tricks you when you do the wrong thing. But the nafs al-mutma'inna is the nafs which then has cured the nafs al-lawama. No longer does that soul, that spirit do wrong. It has reached the stage of proximity to Allah, if you like, in which there is contentment, there is peace, there is communion, as it were, between Allah and that soul. And when you reach that stage of communion, then nothing disturbs you. If something goes wrong, that is the will of Allah. You live within the will of Allah. And so it's called Nafsul Mutmainna. And Allah Ta'ala says, when that Nafsul Mutmainna comes back to him, and it says, come back to me, because you have reached now a level at which you can come back to me in purity. Allah created us with this sole aim that we should rise in spirit to such an extent that when we go back to him, we are in communion with him. We are at a stage at which our souls recognize his existence. So when the soul reaches that level of mutmainna, he says, irji', come back to me, ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah, in a state in which you are pleased with Allah. Now that is the stage of mutmainna. And how often are we pleased with Allah? And Allah is pleased with you. That is an even greater stage. It may be that we are pleased with Allah, but for Allah to be pleased with us, when that, as I said, state of communion is reached, that man is pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with him, when Allah calls back the soul which has reached that stage, that is the state of mutmainna. I am not absolutely sure that I know the answer to the second part. It says, on what occasion and when was it revealed in the Prophet's time? It certainly was revealed as it is part of Surah Fajr. But Surah Fajr discusses a lot of ecstatic matters. The beginning itself, for example, the 10 nights, layal, the Ashara layali that are mentioned there, is again a matter of disagreement between scholars as to exactly what is meant. There are those who say this is the forecast of the 10 nights of the holy of the month of Muharram. So there is considerable discrepancy, and I would not like to venture to say now exactly in what circumstances that I know. Discussions have been made related to the scientific explorations mentioned in the Quran and proved by science. But is there any matter related to science mentioned in the Quran but not discussed by science? Any matter related to science mentioned in the Quran but not discussed by science? Yes, indeed there are. An example may be helpful. Yes, I prefer an example. That ayah which we discussed. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. Now that is something that science can probe into. He says, glorified is Allah. Subhanallah. He has created pairs of everything. He has created azwaj of everything. مِمَّا تُنْبِتُ الْأَرْض, that which sprouts from the earth, which we discussed. وَمِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, and that which is created in those which have spouses within themselves. Now we know plants have spouses within themselves. We know, for example, there are those animals that split into two, but do they have the negative within themselves? Maybe they do, and that is how reproduction takes place. But then Allah says, وَمِنْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and that which you do not know. So there still is a lot for us to discover more about matters. So there are scientific things in the Quran, actually pinpointed in the Quran, about which we do not know and which we will still need to make efforts to discover. There is a supplementary question. Referring to your previous question on the burning of Quran, yes, the different versions of Quran that were available at that time, was the content tempered, or only the style in which it was recited differently? Well, it appears that it was both. It appears it was both. The style was, there were 7 different styles. I did not go into that because it would have consumed time which I did not have. And I am, as you know, the sandwiched speaker. There is one before me and there is one after me. So I am squeezed from both sides. And I thought that was an area I can overlook, the 7 different styles of reciting Quran. But they were reciting in different styles. But apart from that, there were alterations in words. Like غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Now that was not being recited as we know it now. And there were 2 ghayrs in that recitation. So there were those who were reciting it that way. And so there were additions in those recitations which were not in the version of Zayd bin Harith. And there was also the different styles which created an impression that there are different Qurans. So basically there were differences in 2 broad respects, as the supplementary question suggests, for which I am grateful. The sun has its own light. The moon gets its light from the sun. Whereas there are some stars which are brighter than the sun. So how do we imagine the nur of Allah? How infinite is it? As we know that Allah is nur and He has no form. Well, that takes us into a real depth of aesthetics. A very interesting question. One cannot deny, one cannot challenge the fact that, this is my passage, one cannot deny the fact that Allah Himself says, Wallahu nuru samawati wal ard. He is the light of the heavens and the earth. But when Allah, as I understand the situation, as I understand the situation when Allah talks of Him being nur, it is again metaphorical. Because light has its limitation. When you have a ray of light, you can measure its length, you can measure its width, you can measure its breadth. Now, the moment you can have these measurements, the thing is finite, and Allah is not finite. So whilst we talk of Allah being nur, He is not nur in the sense that we see light or we understand light, because these rays are finite and are distinguishable and identifiable. Whereas Allah Ta'ala is everywhere. He is omnipresent, He is omnipotent, He is omniscient. So there is no finiteness to Him at all. And in that respect, therefore, what is the question? And in that way, therefore, the word nur there that is used is metaphorical. These discussions, as you can imagine, need time. They need a full discourse on it. They're not matters that can be dealt with in such short space of time. But given that we have to deal with it in such short space of time, I hope I have made the point clear that this question of Allah being nur is also metaphorical. When Allah says that I have created the Holy Prophet from my nur, أول ما خلق الله نوري, when the Holy Prophet says that the first thing that Allah created was my nur. Now we know that nur is created from nur. This is why I said this is a lengthy discussion, which of course I will cut short. So if there is that nur of Allah, then was it an identifiable finite thing? It wasn't. So that was the conceptual way, conceptually for the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, to explain his origin, that it came from Nur. Therefore, and from his Nur he says that some more Nur flow. هذا وعلي من نور الواحد, he says. Ali and Ali are from one Nur. And that Nur got further split, he says. And Aimah alayhi salam came in. Yes, but was the first Nur of exactly the same time? No. Nur of Allah was different from the Nur of, and has to be, Nur of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny. Well, that Nur of Allah, therefore, is not finite. It was there, it was everywhere. And yet, there was darkness. So, that word cannot be interpreted in a physical way. Its understanding is purely metaphysical. The sun is its own light, the moon gives light from the sun, whereas the sun and stars which are brighter than the sun. So how do we imagine the Nur of Allah? No, the Nur that the sun has is not the kind of Nur that we are talking about when we talk of the Nur of Allah. Nor is the Nur of the light and of the sun and the stars of the kind that the Nur of the Holy Prophet is. Because the Nur that is created, the light that is created from the sun, is energy. It is scientifically identifiable and it is limited. It will exhaust itself. And when that energy exhausts itself, the sun will also die. And the stars die in exactly the same process. It is this hydrogen that is burning and creates helium. And it is this effect of the exposure and exhalation of helium and hydrogen that produces all this light and heat. And this is how we see light produced. So the production of light by the sun and the production of heat by the sun are scientifically explicable on basis of physics. And the astrophysicists are able to identify it precisely. Hence, it is a different concept. That light that we are talking about from the sun and moon is, if there is expression like physical light, I would like to use it. But I hope I say that to explain what kind of light I mean. Because light is not physical. It is an energy which is produced. But it is the form of energy that is identifiable, unlike the Nur of Allah. I know it's a complex matter, but I hope I have tried my best to put it in simple language. If I haven't, please let me know. And we'll go into it, because I do want to be fair to the questioner. What was the concept of Azadari, oh my God? I think we should keep this aside, because we have the ones relating to our discussions. Allah Ta'ala has the title of Kun Fayakun. He definitely could have made everything. Could have made everything, 7 heavens and 7 earths and what existed between them in a matter of a second. I'm very impressed that these details are coming out in the questions also. Satisfies me that people were not asleep during those moments, which is a matter of great consolation. What existed between is a matter of a second. But is it that he is giving us an explanation of his creation in the Holy Quran, so that we should be able to reason things out as to how things happen in due course, and not, ma'azallah, think that everything happened by chance, like how other people say. Am I right in saying they were? Yes, I have no hesitation in agreeing with the proposition that the questioner makes. Yes, that is the purpose of Allah, to show that everything was created in that way and nothing was created purely by chance, as the atheist says. Can you please tell us the Quranic detailed version, I know, of how the sun will die, which we did not discuss due to lack of time? Yes, we did not discuss that due to lack of time. Now the question is it scientific? No, it's Quranic. I would not like to answer the question off the cuff, because those verses in the Holy Quran are definitely spaced out. They are in various parts of the Quran, and they need to be coagulated, as was done during the 10 nights. Those ayats that I cited, as you know, giving different chapter numbers, you could see came from different places. And it is best that those ayats are gathered together in one go and dealt with in one go. But the Quran expressly mentions of how when the day of judgment will come, the sun will lose its luster and will be lost and will die. And therefore it is not easy to see, and that is why one needs to look into the other ayats as well, whether the sun that will be in heaven and the sun that will be on the day of judgment will be the same sun that we have now. And the ayats that I have in mind seem to import that it will not be, because that sun will totally perish. And it will perish to the extent, thank you very much, will perish to the extent that it will be unfunctional and unfunctionable at all. And so I would like to reserve that to the appropriate time when we can deal with it. What does we stand for when Allah says we have created the heavens and earth? It stands for Himself. It is the plural, that it is the divine plural, if you like the royal plural. It is the divine plural. But in Arabic also it is plural. It is inna nahnu. It is we who have created the 7 heavens and 7 earths, and the other 6 earths exist along with our earth or in some other galaxy. Do they have another sun like ours? And the other 6 earths exist along with our earth. Well, I'm not sure that the 6 other earths are like our earths. Now that is still a subject of discussion. But proceeding with the question, there are other creations like stars, other stars that have been created, and other planets that we are not aware of. And Quran says that there are other planets that we are not aware of. Then they have another sun. Yes, each one of them have their own sun. Like ours, well, scientists tell us, Quran does not, but scientists tell us that those other suns are much brighter and bigger than our sun. And do people exist on that earth? Well, this is the question that I hope I have answered in answering the other questions, whether there is life on the other planets. Do the other earths have the holy Kaaba and Nabatullah fi Imam al-Asr for all the 7 heavens and 7 earths? And what exists between them? Yes, he is the Imam of all 7 heavens and all 7 earths. Indeed, he is not only confined to this earth, he is the representative of Allah on all earths, and therefore his jurisdiction rests with all those earths, as I understand the position to be. And may Allah hasten the reappearance of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. I'm trying to unearth these that have remained below 4. Please answer and clear my doubt on the creation of music. Is it the creation of Saturn when he witnessed the first murder of mankind, when Cain murdered Abel? Well, not all music is haram, as we know. So there is halal music and there is haram music. The basic question is, what is music? To determine whether it is halal or what is haram. It is really production of sound. That is music. Now, then the intonation, the wavelengths come in. And those wavelengths between notes and between frequencies create the variation in the sounds. So the process by which sound is emitted. Sound is, in physics, an energy. It is energy by itself. And there are sounds that Allah Ta'ala mentions of in the Quran, like the thunder. The thunder is a sound. And Allah mentions that in the Quran. And nobody would say that that is a creation of the Saturn. It is creation by Allah, and He has explained why He created it in the holy verse that we discussed. And there are other sounds that are, when I'm speaking now, I'm producing sound. Now that, of course, is through Allah's creation. The vocal cords create that sound. And there is production of sounds by the vocal cords that are haram. And there is sound that is produced by instruments. But that production of sound by instrument is also scientific. It is the energy sound that is produced by certain reactions that are brought about. So I do not think it is fair to generalize. That's the word I wanted. I think it's not fair to generalize and say that all sound that is created is the product of shaitan, is created by shaitan. No, shaitan uses like the wrongs that happens. They happen through the machinations of shaitan, but they are not created by shaitan. For example, rape is not created by shaitan. The process is a lawful process, but it is abuse of that process in the wrong way. Murder, for example, use of a knife is a legitimate affair, but it's the abuse of it. It is when those sounds created by Allah and created through agencies created by Allah are abused by the machinations and whisperings of shaitan, that what is fundamentally halal becomes haram. And so, in my view, it is not possible to generalize in the way in which that question has been framed. Now, another interesting question looks like, due to lack of time, the creation of the universe 6 phases was not covered in detail. Could you explain it in a little detail? Well, creation of the universe, due to lack of time, the creation of the universe in 6 phases was not covered in detail. Well, what we do know for sure from the Quran itself, and that is why we are sure, the creation of the universe was in 6 phases. The first 2 phases related to the creation of the heavens and the earth. But we know that creation of the heavens and the earth was simultaneous. It is not, as the scriptures say, that the heavens was created and the earth was created in separate phases. No. The two were created simultaneously, and as I said, were at one stage one, then they were separate. That was the will of Allah, and that is how He did it. The other 4 periods that followed the creation were all relating to creation of the sustenance of those two, of the heavens and the earth. Easier to deal with sustenance of the earth because we understand the earth. For example, our earth. Talking of our earth, if humans were to be brought in, then everything that humans would need had to be provided. If plants were to be brought in, then everything that the plants needed had to be provided. If animals were to be brought in, then anything animals needed would be provided. And all that provision, therefore, was made during that time. The earth was created but was not stable. That was in the first 2 phases. In the remaining 4 phases, the stability of the earth was considered. And the mountains were brought in, and the rivers were brought in, and the reliefs in the atmosphere were brought in. Our atmosphere, for example, is in 6 spheres. All those spheres had to be brought in because the sun by then was already created, and the sun rays were coming in, so that the sun rays don't annihilate the earth. The sun rays are being filtered off. Those stratas had to be created, and then food had to be created for everybody, for the plants, for the animals, for fish, for algae, for us. All that took the other 4 periods of creation. When Allah said Kun Fayakun, did He Himself create all the things? Or did He order someone? No, He did not order anybody. That is straightforward. He created them Himself. If it was someone else, who was it? No, so that does not arise. Indeed, even this question of Kun Fayakun does not really mean Allah Ta'ala spoke Kun and it became. I deal with this because the question seems to imply that. Kun fayakun, it implies that it was said to somebody else, and somebody else then did. No, in reality, Allah did not even say kun, because as the questioner so very rightly implies, if he said kun, one expects there was somebody else who was told be. But that someone else is not someone who existed, because be implies it was not there. It implies non-existence. So it is not that there was somebody there who was told. The thing did not exist at all. So if the thing did not exist at all, how is it addressed? Be. And so it was not addressed. So what does kun fayakun mean? Kun fayakun only means Allah is seeking to make it, to make us understand what happened. In reality, it was just the will of Allah. إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ. What was أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ? It tells him who is to be created when it was not there. In fact, it is not only creation, it is irada. When he forms an intention to create something, what follows is his amr, his command. That be is only a vocal expression of that spiritual command. The command is entirely divine. It is spiritual. It is not human. It is not vocal. And when he says I say be, he does not say be. He intends that it should become, and that intention is immediately translated into the creation of that being. Such is the power and authority of Allah. I realize these are delicate matters that I hope we deal with. And if I haven't, please feel free to point that out. In Surah Yasin, in many verses, Allah has referred as we, like in verse 8. Surely we have placed chains on their necks, and these reach up to their chins. So they have their heads raised a lot. My question is Allah is one. Taken, why is this verse referred to as we? My question is Allah is one? Yes, he is one. Then why in this verse we refer as we, right? I think I have that with this question. It is the divine we, like the royal we, but it's not the royal we, it's the divine we. And Allah has always referred to himself in the entirety of the Holy Quran in that plural expression. And it is plural in Arabic as well. Children are born mentally retarded. What is the reason for this kind of birth? Well, that I think is a medical question. And how will they be judged on the Day of Judgment? So that's an easier one. The second part, let's deal with that first, and then we'll come back to the first part. How will be dealt with on the Day of Judgment? Everybody will be dealt with on the Day of Judgment to the extent of his capacity. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not impose greater obligation on any, so except to the extent that he is able to bear it. So if he is mentally retarded, then he will be dealt with to the extent to which he was mentally alert. On all those matters in which his mind lets him down, he is not to be judged or questioned. If he did something in the state of epilepsy, or in the state of involuntariness, or in the state of automatism, then all those conditions will be brought into account. The great thing is that the judge on the Day of Judgment will be an omniscient judge. He will know exactly how and why the human being acted in that way. And he will have knowledge of all those matters that bring about these conditions. Automatism, for example, as I said, brings about its own consequences. And he's aware of all that. And he's aware if those are the conditions that brought about a particular action of the human being and human being. And so that human being will be judged in that way. Now, the question that some are born mentally retarded, what is the reason for this? Well, the reasons can be a number of reasons that result in children being born mentally retarded. It could well be an accident even during birth, or it could be an accident during the processes in the womb. A number of reasons could bring about retaliation. But as I said, it is not to the detriment of that human being in the hereafter. It is not to his detriment in this world also, because he is provided for with those deficiencies in mind. I think I've finished all the relevant ones. I'm now going to the low priority. We have the time for that for a moment. Right. Now I'm dealing with questions which are not directly relevant to the discussions we had. Can I start with these? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One title of Imam Ali alayhi salam is Siddiq al-Rashid. What does this mean? Well, Siddiq is truthful. The person who always tells the truth. He is Siddiq al-Akbar, the greatest truthful person. Siddiq al-Rashid means, Rashid is the guy. So Siddiq al-Rashid means the truthful guy. When we give sadaqah, Allah's anger is turned into mercy regarding our sins, according to the hadith. So is our all sins forgiven by the sadaqah? Well, it is difficult to pinpoint and be as precise as the questioner puts it. All our sins. Now that is a generalization. As he rightly says, the hadith is that the anger of Allah is converted into mercy. And sadaqah is known to avert afflictions. To avert afflictions in this world, to avert afflictions in the grave and on the day of judgment. Those hadiths, as the questioner says, are beyond question. There is no controversy about them. But does it result in all sins being forgiven? That is doubtful. But what I say is that even if some sins are forgiven every time a sadaqah is given, that takes us a long way. That takes us a mighty long way. I say this with caution because there are some sins that will not be forgiven. For example, shirk is not forgiven. But keeping shirk aside, there are some other sins which will not easily be forgiven. For example, you make dhulm on another human being. And this is why it is so important that we do not treat other people with injustice. That we are fair to other people. That we do not, for example, steal from them. We do not abuse them. We do not use our hands on them. And what is worse is stealing secretly, by frauds, by deception. Those are very hard. I trust you, but let me put it the other way around. It may be more palatable. You trust me implicitly, and then I commit a breach of that trust and steal your money, or I harm you. Well, Allah Ta'ala does not easily forgive that sort of thing. And whereas sadaqah will easily mean his sins being forgiven. That's morning when we were being lazy and did not get up for Fajr prayers. Those sins will easily be forgiven by him. That day on which something went wrong and our fast is not accepted. We have prayed the kafara, but the question still is, the sin is there. Those sins, in other words, his sins would easily be forgiven. What I say is that if Allah forgives his sins, is that a small measure? That relieves our burdens immensely on the day of judgment. So, to that extent, the hadith is of paramount importance. Whether it will forgive all sins, whether it will forgive that category of sins that is called haqqul nas, is questionable. But Allah has great mercy. And if you have been merciful to others, because that is what sadaqah is, it is mercy to other people. If you have been merciful to other people, Allah says, He has been merciful to others, but I am arhamur rahimin, I am more merciful than him. So I have got to show even greater mercy on him than he has shown to others. And in that spirit, if Allah forgives you even haqqul nas, compensating those who have been unjustly treated by your actions, That is exclusively within the merits of Allah. What is important is that we continue doing good and continue taking our sadaqah. Allah says in Quran, I don't know what that is. Do you want me to give you all this? When Allah says in Quran that Rasulullah and Imams are shahid of our actions. So when Imam alayhi salam sleep, do they see us? Yes, they have the capacity of being alive and seeing even when they are asleep. Sleep does not make them unconscious of what is going on around. What is the time of difference between naming ourselves for azadari, for harming ourselves? What is the line of difference between harming ourselves, oneself for azadari, to the extent of death? Well, it is not the purpose of azadari, it is not the meaning of azadari that we should kill ourselves. No. The purpose of azadari is that we should remain alive and continue performing azadari. Killing ourselves is killing azadari in ourselves. The whole purpose is to remain alive and continue mourning Imam Hussain alayhi salam till death comes naturally. And therefore any attempt recklessly to kill oneself is not the true purpose of azadari. Accidents, of course, are a different thing. Recently Maulana said that smoking is permissible. Is it so? And is there anything in Quran about it? I do not know that there is anything in Quran about smoking. And I do not know that smoking is not permissible at all. I have heard that there is a fatwa. I have not seen it myself. I have heard that there is a fatwa of Ayatollah Khomeini, rahmatullah alayhi, when he said that if somebody has not started smoking, it is haram for him to start smoking. But those who are smoking can continue to do so. I'm not sure that that fatwa exists, but I've been informed that it does. But otherwise, I know Ayatollah Al-Khawi, rahmatullah alayhi, was a chain smoker himself. And I've seen him with 2 cigarettes in hand at the same time. So I'm sure that insofar as these fatwas go, it is not haram. Well, let's deal with the older ones first then. Are we allowed to invest in equity shares or buy shares of certain company? Buy shares of, I can't read that, which company. But are we allowed to invest in equity shares? To the extent that equity shares are a gamble, we are not allowed to gamble. But to the extent that they are not a gamble, then investment in equity shares is not forbidden as such. Business brings profits and business can cause loss. Well, that is a matter that is well known. If investment in equity shares is like that kind of business, which is calculated business and calculated to make profit, then it is permissible. But if it is reckless business which could recklessly result in loss, then of course that is not acceptable and that is not permissible in religion. I am a salaried person. I want to buy a house. Am I allowed to take a loan, housing loan from bank? Yes. You are allowed to take a loan from the bank because what you pay the bank is really not interest. Because ultimately you become the owner of the house. If it is by way of mortgage, you become an owner of the house. I do not envisage that the questioner is talking of taking a pure loan, buying a house, because the housing bank is talking about housing loan from bank. Housing loan normally would have a mortgage attached to it. So if there is a mortgage, then he is really buying the property. The transaction is for the purchase of property and not one for loan. Is Jummah namaz wajib? I see some people praying namaz zuhr after reciting Jummah namaz. Well, this is a little intricate issue. In the ghaibah of the 12th Imam alayhi salam, it is said that namaz Jummah is not wajib as such. It it is a matter of your choice. It's taqir. It's a matter of your choice, whether you recite it as wajib or not. But the leading maraji' say that if Namaz al-Jumu'ah is organized by an alim who satisfies the relevant conditions, then attending Namaz al-Jumu'ah is wajib. Well, the complicated question is, if attending Namaz al-Jumu'ah is wajib, then what should your niyyah be? Because normally, logically, you would say if it is wajib for me to attend, then the niyyah must be wajib. That if it is wajib for me to attend, it is wajib for me to recite. That wajib to attend means if you do not have reasonable cause. If you have a reasonable cause for not attending, then of course you are exempted. But if you do not have a reasonable cause to be absent, then you must be present. And that makes good sense, because it enables all the mu'mineen to gather and be together at least once a week. And mutual matters of the community are discussed in the khutbah by the imam, as the Imam alayhi salam would do if he was present himself. Well, so must the niyyah be wajib in those circumstances? And the ulama say no, it is not, because the niyyah would be wajib if the Imam alayhi salam is present himself. Namaz al-Jumu'ah is one of the spatial colleges, spatial functions, I think that is the more proper word, spatial functions of the Imam alayhi salam himself. Like jihad. Jihad is basically a proper function of the Imam. He declares jihad and nobody else. Namaz al-Jumu'ah he leads, and so with Namaz al-Eid. So for Namaz al-Jumu'ah, the ulama say, if it is organized by an Imam who establishes all those colleges that are required for Namaz al-Jumu'ah, it's wajib to attend, but then you have the choice of reciting those prayers with niyyah of wajib or niyyah of mustahab. If you recite the namaz with niyyah of wajib, you don't need to recite Dhuhr at all, because you've already recited one set of prayers. If you recite the namaz al-Jumu'ah with niyyah of sunnah, then you must recite Dhuhr with the niyyah of wajib. Well, I hope I have made that clear. But as I said, if I haven't, let me know. During the reign of the three Khalifas, Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman, would like to know whether Imam Ali alayhi salam and his followers prayed behind these three Khalifas or they prayed separately. Well, as far as I know, and as far as my research goes, the Imam Ali alayhi salam, well, his followers, it's difficult to say, because there were many followers, and there is no history pinpointing each follower. But talking of Imam Ali alayhi salam himself, I do not know that Imam Ali alayhi salam prayed behind any of the three Khalifs as a wajib namaz. If he happened to be there and there is salah and he respected salah, because if salah is being recited, you don't want to walk out. So if out of that akhlaq he did recite salah, he may well have recited with the niyyah of infirad, of reciting furada on his own, not with the niyyah of jama'ah, because I do not see it logical